This is Board Games Insider, the home of Stephen Bonacore, the arch gaming nemesis of Tom Vassell.
This is Board Games Insider, where publishers Ignacy and Stephane, president of Portal Games, and Stephen Bonacore, president of Stronghold Games, discuss the hobby board game industry from the inside, providing you with news, advice, and a look behind the curtain into both of their companies. Ladies and gentlemen, here are Ignacy and Stephane.
Hello, this is Ignacy and Stephane, Portal Games.
And this is Stephen Bonacore of Stronghold Games and Indie Game Studios, episode 115, a proud member of the Dice Tower Network, regardless of Tom Vassell. And Ignacy, this is August 22nd, and that means we've recorded 2 episodes this week, trying to catch up and give our fans some more content, and, well, not make the news get so stale, too.
That is, this is all about catching up after me being away from the office. Like, catching up, this is my daily basis for the past 3 days. Oh my God.
We're not going to talk about your flu again, right? No, forget it.
I had to get back to action, so no more flu for me.
Oh yeah, so it is a lot of catching up to do after the conventions and your travels and stuff like that. So,
but you just came from Gen Con and you are going to convention in like tomorrow, the day after tomorrow. You are in a transition, right?
I'm going to sort of a convention. I'm going to be on the BGG at Sea cruise. So I'm cruising, but it's a working cruise.
Yeah.
We got to get you to come on one of those, either Dice Tower or BGG. That would be a lot of fun.
One day I will. Yes, one
day. Okay. Hey, so why don't you tell us what's happening at Portal Games? What's new? I know you just talked about it, but tell us again about some of the stuff that what's going on.
Yeah, as I said the last time, I'm trying to log back into the office and see what's going on. The most recent things, the things that I was doing this week, was the finishing touches for the new case for Detective,
cool.
Our best-selling game. And this one is pretty special because it will be available for free for everybody. So we celebrate the 1-year anniversary of the game, lots of success for the game. So we decided to have a free case. Everybody can play it, everybody can download it. We will have it in a version that you can download this along with the rulebook, along with the print and play board. So everybody who knows Detective or anybody who didn't play Detective yet, they can solve the case. This is the case I wrote with Mary. So this is me and my wife designing this case, and we hope it will be a great celebration of the 1-year anniversary of the game. And this is what was happening this week. Like, I was accepting the final edit, because once again, how it works, we write the case in Polish, then we translate it into the English, then we send it to the natives, and then when they do all the edits in terms of the grammar and smoothness of the sentences, then I have to accept every single change, because sometimes it may happen that the grammatical change changes the clue, right?
Sure.
So this week I was going through all these edits and accepting them, and sometimes not accepting. So that was my week recently. For the whole company, we are preparing to Essen. Apparently, Essen is coming.
Sneaks up on us every year.
Yeah, this is perfect wording you use. Like, you come back from Gen Con, you think, okay, now it's time to rest, and you say, oh no, this is Essen, it's so close.
Oh my goodness. Yep.
Yes, I asked Chevy to write for us once again a new press release, so we have to announce what games we are going to release at Essen, and once again I have to talk with Greg if we are on track with production, if we have everything prepared for Essen. This year we have one new game, that is Pret-a-Porter. Of course, we got Kickstarter, and now we are going to deliver the Kickstarter to the backers, and then we will release the game at Essen.
Cool.
So my heavy economic game about running company in the fashion industry. So this is our main dish, I would say, at Essen, and then we'll have 2 expansion for the 10th or something like that time. We have a new expansion for Neuroshima Hex, because this is the game we released in 2007, and every single year we go to Essen with the new expansion for the game. Like, all these Neuroshima Hex fans are always waiting. Okay, Essen, new faction for Neuroshima Hex, so it will be Sand Runners, new faction. And for the first time in the history of the company, we have an expansion for the game that was released at Gen Con. So at Gen Con we released Empires of the North, and And in Essen, we already have the first expansion. So this is like us acting a little bit like a FFG. So, releasing the game and immediately has more content, more cards, more options for the players. This time with Asha on board, with my amazing developer, I was able to pull it off and have a base game release at Gen Con, and then a few months later already have the first expansion. It is called Japanese Islands, and it adds 2 new decks for the game. So this is my update after these few days in the office. In the next episode I will know much more once again about what's going on. But the most important for me, new free case for Detective. We will release it in September to celebrate the 1 year of the game, and Essen, 1 main game and 2 small expansions.
That's great. That is great. Over at Stronghold Games, still producing those Kickstarter games that we did earlier this year. That's Terraforming Mars Turmoil, Ignacy, Aftershock, D-Mocker. They're all in production, so everybody out there who backed, we'll be seeing those hopefully hitting either right on time, November or December, to get out to you.
And they are let me ask. So they will be shipped after Essen, right?
They will be shipped right around Essen,
okay,
or right after Essen. We got to see. Okay. We got to see what we can do. It's always hard to see the exact timing. We got to get them out of China or out of Germany, depending on where they're being made. So, as you know, very hard to tell exactly. But Essen is late this year, so we kind of get the bounce from that. As we kind of have the ability to potentially do it before that. Also, we have the pre-orders open and street dates locked in for a bunch of things. Diamonds 2nd edition, September 4th. Amul, our card drafting game, is also September 4th. And Encore, which was Nachtmahl in Germany, that's October 2nd. We're completing all of the 6 games in our Roll and Write series. All of those right now on pre-order, and those dates are locked in. Also on pre-order with slightly less locked-in dates, that kind of slipping from October to potentially November releases, and they would be Coffee Roaster, which is our solo game with all new artwork from its original release, and then the 2 Freedom and Freeze games, which are Fire and Fast Sloths. So we have announced those for October. They're all on pre-order, but we may slip some of those into November. All of the games I just mentioned, all of the games of the Freedom and Freeze games, Fire and Fast Sloths, will definitely be available in Essen for your purchase as well. So that's it. So on the conventions, we already mentioned BGG at Sea coming up next week for me. Dice Tower Retreat just a week after that. I get to torture Tom. I can't wait, down in Miami in his home turf. And of course, we're preparing for Essen like crazy. So
and the Essen reminds me. I don't know what's on your side, but on my side, if any of our listeners would like to help us at Essen as a volunteer and help us teach the games, either contact Stronghold Games, either contact Portal Games, because we need volunteers. We need people who know our games, who love our games, and who can share this passion. At the booth, we have 20 tables this year at Essen, so we need an army of our friends and volunteers, and I guess for you is the same. So from us, please help us if you want to be with us for a couple of hours and help us, because I always say, if some people who don't know how it works, they might be, I want to go to Essen to enjoy Essen, but actually you can go to Essen, enjoy the Essen, but you can sacrifice like 4 hours one day, or you can sacrifice like 1 day of these 4 days and help us out, and of course then enjoy the convention. But we don't need a person to be stuck on the booth for the whole show. Like, we need you for a couple of hours. Help us present some games, help us teach games, and then enjoy the convention.
Yeah, thank you for mentioning that, because that's actually very important to what we're doing right now, trying to get the volunteers, the demo staff, the Knights of the Stronghold, as we call them. And you can demo heavier games, you can demo some lighter games. Of course, the indie boards and cards side of the house, they've got lighter social games. So we'll have all of these games out there, and if you want to come and help us, you can drop me a note personally. I'll give you my personal Stronghold email address, Stephen, Stephen, at strongholdgames.com, and I will hook you up with the guy who's creating our list of demo people and creating the schedule for everybody, and we would love to have you come and demo games with us. We give you, depending on how much time you spend with us, we give you a free badge. We'll give you lunch if you're there during the lunch hours. We give you snacks and treats and sodas and things like that. Every night when we close up the booth, we have a little mini booth party, which I think is kind of cool for everybody. We get to socialize for like a half hour. We have some beer and some cookies. Ignacy, come by for some cookies maybe. And it's a fun group event that we really do with our demo staff at Essen. It's much more involved than doing it at the U.S. conventions for me, because we can't have these little parties. They make everybody get out of the halls. In Essen, you can spend more time if you have an exhibitor badge, spend more time and chat with me and the rest of the team. So hopefully we can have some of you.
Yes, the same here. My offer is slightly different, because if you want to help us, you need to bring cookies. Like the rest is the same, but each volunteer who want to help Portal Games and hang out with us, they have to bring cookies to be accepted in the team.
I have so many people, not only some of the demo staff who know me very well, of course, but so many just fans bringing me beer in Essen. It's crazy. And we buy some beer, for the booth to have it in the evenings, but I get so much extra beer. I only have to buy very little because there's so much of it shows up. It's amazing. Thank you for everybody. You don't have to do that, but it's always appreciated. It's appreciated if you bring it. All right, enough silliness. Let's get over to the event deck.
The event deck. Here's the latest news from the board game industry.
So this show, we're only going to do the news, only the event deck, not going to take some, because we have so much news that we've been piling up over time. So we want to try to get some of this news out there for you. So the first thing, it was very interesting. This is news that came out of Gen Con, and that was that there was another acquisition in the industry. And all the cool kids are doing it, Ignacy. When are you going to be acquiring some companies? So this one was Genius Games acquired Artana Games. Interesting, two small companies, very small companies, getting together to do a merger, or specifically an acquisition. Genius acquiring Artana. Artana is known for games such as Tesla versus Edison and Speakeasy Blues, as it says here. And it's nice to see this again. It's smaller companies coming together will give them more strength over time.
Yes, Luke is asking me when we merge with somebody. I said, look, just focus on our work. we are not merging with anybody yet. But yes, this is as you mentioned, this is the pattern that we will see in upcoming months. Because industry is growing, and if you can merge with somebody and lower the cost of the operation, like exactly what you are doing here with your merge, like lesser cost of the convention, lesser cost of the marketing, like all these things that benefit for the company.
Yep.
And give them the biggest strength. So for me, very good news. Let the industry grow, let the smaller companies merge and become bigger and have better marketing, better games. So as we saw a couple of years ago that we will see Asmodee buying different studios, I guess that we will have pattern of seeing more and more of these mergers in upcoming months. So maybe we need a special music jingle, a merger again, because there will be more of this.
We'll have somebody create it. Merger time. There you go.
Correct.
Right. So more on the tariffs, because obviously this is just very important stuff that's going on in the United States economy, and it is potentially going to affect toys and games, and we're part of that. As of recently, the talks with China, between the United States and China, were not going well, and Trump has imposed, or has stated that he will impose, the 10% tariffs on the remaining Chinese imported goods, which do include the toys and games category. Now, that was slated to go into effect in September, but then just recently, this has been pushed back to December. And the Trump administration specifically came out and stated that this was because they wanted toys and games and other types of industries that will get hit with tariffs, but we're not yet. They wanted all of the products to be brought in for the holidays, so it would not have as much an impact on American consumers during the holidays, or American companies during the holidays. So we're still in that position of having an issue here, and it's not a good issue at all. If this does happen, we will see tariff surcharges being placed on the sale of our goods to distribution, and then distributors selling that to retailers at a higher price, and then retailers having to sell to customers at a higher price. It has to be pushed down. So at the moment, it's postponed again. We hope that things settle out between the U.S. and China in this trade war.
I would not like to comment the actions of President Trump, so let's move on. I don't want my visa taken back.
No politics on this show. We report the news only.
Yeah, but on a serious note, for me, what's strange is that there was suggestion that there will be a tariffs, then there were these meetings and public hearing, and then there was a suggestion, okay, this toy industry is so big, it will influence so many businesses that let's not put these tariffs. Few weeks passed, tariffs are back on the table. Like what happened, in these discussions that such as serious topics are back on the table, not on the table, back on the table. Like I think this is too serious topic to have it in this situation. But well, we will see in January if they will be really imposed or once again moved. I don't know. I print most of my games in Europe. Mm-hmm. I print most of my games in Poland. So portal games per se will not be maybe influenced by that too much.
Right.
But the whole industry, if this is imposed, oh my God, it will be huge impact.
It's going to be serious if it happens. So I'm still optimistic that cooler heads will prevail, as the term goes. So, we have some interesting things here from our friends at Asmodee. We've gone away from having this as the Asmodee show, but they still are doing big things. One of the things that has happened is that their owners, P-A-I, Pi Partners, which is known for owning board game companies as well as cookie companies, right? As
Jaffa Cakes, baby. Correct.
So Pi Partners put out a video, which I still have not watched. I'm going to save this link now, and I'm going to watch this video. They put out a video on how Asmodee operates. So it's a business model video. Pi Partners, the new owners of Asmodee, have posted an investor-friendly video that explains the business model and strategy behind the new acquisition. Pi Partners acquired Asmodee from Eurazeo in 2018 for 1.2 billion euros. That's around $1.5 billion at the time, a little bit less than that now. So it's a very, I quickly looked at the first little bit, but you see some of their key products and things like that. I want to go through it. I highly recommend to get an interesting look from an investor point of view. Go check that out. You can find that by Googling Pi Partners Asmodee business video.
I watched the video. It was very nicely done. It presents the company, it presents the philosophy, it presents a little bit how the board games industry is growing, how interesting it is, how they purchase their studios. They have design studios, they have the great titles like Ticket to Ride, and they explain it why it is so interesting. If I may roast Asmodee, because it is always my role to make fun of big fishes. They have this new tagline that says "Great games, amazing stories," and this video, of course, talks about this new tagline. I just want to remind that Portal Games is known for board games that tell stories since 2012, so Asmodee is ripping my tagline, and that was my comment.
No lawsuits, please. No more lawsuits. Also, Asmodee making some very, very big strategic maneuvers on the distribution level. Asmodee acquires distributors in Canada, Taiwan, and Chile. Asmodee have acquired Canadian distributor Lion Rampant Imports. Based in Brantford, Ontario, Lion Rampant was founded in 1992 by Ross Fleming and Rose Kriegman. I know them very well. The two companies have worked together for the last 10 years, and the deal closed on August 7th. So this happened right after Gen Con. The company has also acquired Kids Power International, a Taiwanese publisher and distributor operating under the Go Kids brand. The company was founded in 2010. Asmodee has been a partner since 2011. And in July, Asmodee added Chilean distributor Skyship to the group. Skyship had a strong partnership with Asmodee since its founding in 2014. This is, again, while a given U.S. or European customer, this will have no impact really on them. This is still huge news for the industry that this colossal company is expanding on every tier, every portion of the industry, now acquiring 3, I'll call them major distributors because they're certainly major where they are. Lion Rampant is the largest distributor in Canada, or very close to it, with Universal Distribution being number 2. Asmodee already had Asmodee Canada up there as well, so I believe that they had an affiliate there in distribution. So they're continuing to buy in that tier, which is, again, gets scary for the rest of us on some level, because they will be controlling our products going into these markets. We sell, Stronghold Games sells into Canada via Lion Rampant. So we're now selling to them via Asmodee.
Yeah, we because we live in Europe and America, we are like focused on these 2 markets. So when Asmodee was buying distributors in Europe and then having this crazy deal with Alliance, we thought that the operation is over, but this operation is not over. There's so many different markets, there's so many different countries, there's so many different regions on the planet where people play board games, and we will see these new purchases of the distributors again for upcoming months, because Asmodee in the final plan, they want to have distribution in the control over every single market where people play board games. So on one hand, for me, very surprising. Like, I have to say very honestly that I have no knowledge whatsoever about the board games market in Chile. Really, I have no clue how many people play board games and what are the publishers and what are distributors. But for Asmodee, this is the market. We go there, we will control the market in terms of the distribution, and they will now go country after country, region after region, and we will have more and more interesting news that say always the same. Asmodee just bought a local distributor.
Very, very interesting stuff, that's for sure. So we have more news.
Boring stuff.
More boring business stuff. I'm actually I'm going to skip over one of them because it aged quite a bit. But the second one is about the first. It was both about CMON, but the second one is more current, and that's CMON reports a loss while seeing increase in revenue and profit when compared to last year. So we talk a lot about CMON because they are a publicly traded company. Everyone understand that publicly traded companies have to keep their numbers public, while privately held companies like Stronghold Games, indie game studios in general, and Portal Games, and in fact Asmodee, they're privately held, and we don't have to, and we don't disclose individual numbers. We talk about them in general terms. But CMON is a very interesting case study for all of us because we get to see what they're doing. So CMON said in an earnings report released on Friday, this is 3 weeks ago, that revenue increased from $9.6 million to $12.8 million for the first half of the year compared to the same period last year. Very good for them. Those are pretty big numbers. The company attributed the increase to a growth in wholesale sales. Gross profit also increased for the same period last year, primarily due to the increase in revenue. Gross profit margin decreased 2.2% due to the lower margins from wholesale sales versus Kickstarter. Of course, everyone knows that when you sell via Kickstarter, your margins, the amount you'll make on each unit, is higher than when you sell to a distributor. Your margins, your per unit profit, is lower. But overall, the company recorded a loss of $1.2 million for the first half of 2019, up from $80,000 in 2018. Company did not issue a dividend in either of those periods. This is interesting. So increased revenue by a substantial amount, but a book loss is being declared by the company. So Ignacy, I mean, we're seeing these inside numbers here. I mean, they're restructuring, so they were restructuring, so there's going to be some loss.
Yeah, because it is the next paragraph, and probably you can talk in details about it because I don't understand it at all. But it says that they had additional administrative costs due to the application to move from their current listing on GM market to the main market. So I have no idea what costs these are, but this is like they invested the money, yes, to get like a different market.
They're trying to be this is called being uplisted. What that means is that they're moving from this very small market very small stock exchange, to the actual Hong Kong stock exchange. The GEM is a very small stock exchange. They want to be on the Hong Kong Stock Exchange, which is a major stock exchange around the world. In fact, it's the second largest in the Asian region. So there are expenses associated with it. They might have to spend $1 million. I don't know that, but that number, we probably could find it out if we went and looked at their reporting, because they have to. They might have spent $1 million or something like that to do that in legal expenses, in expenses associated with the exchange itself. So and of course, as I mentioned a second ago, they are doing a lot of restructuring right now. We've reported that in the past, and in doing that, when you restructure, you often have to spend a lot of money. Maybe you're moving people around within the organization. Sometimes you lay off, and therefore you have to pay severance packages and things like that. So they have increased their expenses over that quarter. Their revenues were much higher, which is good for them, but overall they took a book loss.
Look at the numbers in Asia. They went from $500 into almost $2 million.
$500, almost $600,000 to $1.8 million was where their biggest growth was, and that came in. Yeah, that's a very good growth. They basically increased their revenue in Asia by 3 times, which is a tremendous amount. South America, they also saw a substantial growth there as well. That area went from $80,000 in revenue to $758,000. So that's like 9 times growth in South America. So you can see while they might not have done as well in North America and Europe, I mean, that's the implication here, they're certainly killing it in the smaller markets, and that's a lot of times that's where you're going to find bigger growth. Even in a growing industry, the smaller markets will have a bigger percentage growth because there's more room to grow in those markets. Very, very, very interesting stuff.
Correct.
From Simon. Here's a sad one, and this is about a good friend of mine in the industry. Punchboard Media severed ties with Katie Adley over a plagiarism claim. So Punchboard Media is a network of board game content creators, and they severed ties with Katie's Game Corner after founder Katie Adley admitted to plagiarizing articles posted on the network. Allegations of plagiarism surfaced a couple of weeks ago in a closed Facebook group for board game reviewers and media, where it appeared that Adley had lifted a game review from BoardGameGeek.com and posted it as her own. However, in a statement posted on July 5th, that's when they came out with their statement about the whole thing, that they had to sever ties because of this. Katie has since, and this is very important, Katie has since came out, she admitted doing a wrong thing, and asked for forgiveness. And I think as a community, because once you come out and you claim and you state that has happened, that, I would like to say that we should forgive her, and she knows that she did the wrong thing, and we should move on. A lot of people came out, and this is now on a personal level, a lot of people came out and blasting her and stuff. I mean, listen, everybody out there needs to just take a chill pill once in a while and say, okay, she admitted her mistake, she's paid the cost, let's move on. You don't make it a personal thing. It wasn't a personal thing that they attacked somebody else, that you as a gamer who was reading her reviews, she didn't harm you. She did something incorrect. She has paid the price, and now we move on. I will still consider Katie a good friend of mine, and I reached out to her, and she's doing much better now. Obviously, it was a very tough time for her. So I don't know if you know Katie, but she's a very sweet person, and I do wish her all the best, and I'll see her in Essen again.
I haven't met her personally. I know her, of course, from social media. For me, the whole news was very confusing, and I was very surprised. So I have no comments. Like, I don't know this person personally. I'm blogger myself, so I wrote a ton of articles and reviews in my life. So I was confused, and hopefully,
sure,
we can move on, and it will never happen again.
Sure. I mean, everyone should take notice that there's a lot of gamers out there, and if you do something like that, they'll notice. So don't do it.
Yep.
Do the right thing. So here's something that made me so happy. I can't tell you how happy I was when I read this article.
And before you start, let me ask you to explain it in detail, because it's a very important thing and not everybody understands. So, like with this news, let's go a little bit deeper, because this is really important, and this is what we do here.
That's right. We're going to go deep. Very deep. So, the U.S. Federal Appeals Court, that's one of the highest courts in the land, U.S. Federal Appeals Court, ruled that Amazon, not Amazon, by the way, that Amazon is liable for third-party products on their site. A federal appeals court in Philadelphia has ruled that Amazon can be held liable for products sold on its platform by third-party sellers. The decision could have financial implications for the retail giant, as it would be vulnerable to lawsuits for defective or even counterfeit products. I have bolded and emphasized that word, counterfeit products. More than half of Amazon sales come from third-party sellers. This isn't the first time this issue has been brought up before the courts, but it's the first time the ruling went against Amazon. And we've talked about this in the past, and I'll go into this in a moment. The company has always argued it should not be considered a seller. It's just providing a platform for the transaction. BS. The Third U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals in Philadelphia disagreed. Thank you, Philadelphia. Quote, Amazon's involvement in transactions extends beyond a mere editorial function. It plays a large role in the actual sales process. This includes receiving customer shipment information, processing customer payments, relaying funds and information to third-party vendors, and collecting the fees it charges for providing these services, the court said in the ruling. This case was tried in Philadelphia because the plaintiff lived there. Liability cases are usually argued under state laws. So why am I so excited? And why should every person, gamer, distributor, publisher, everybody in the industry should be happy about this? Because
also the retailer.
Oh, retailers. Sorry, I didn't mention everybody.
Very important.
Should be happy about this decision, because Amazon and eBay have stood behind their wall of like, we're not responsible for things being sold here. I'm sorry. And the courts have upheld this until now. So you buy a counterfeit product on Amazon, it's not their job to worry about it. Furthermore, if Amazon is selling counterfeit products, we don't know. It's not our job. We don't know. That's what they have been doing. They have taken product that they bought legitimately from us, Stronghold Games and Portal Games, and they have mixed it on occasion with products that they purchased illegally. They didn't purchase them illegally, but they were counterfeit products being purchased by a different group, or they were coming from another seller. So a seller who is selling, say, Terraforming Mars on Amazon, that seller would get products illegally and they would dump it, and Amazon would commingle all that inventory. They would commingle the products that came from Stronghold Games and the products that came from a Chinese seller that is selling games on Amazon. They didn't look like a Chinese seller. I forgot the name of this company that is a known person that sells counterfeit games, and we have shut them down, but they just keep popping up. But we have now shut down the counterfeits on Amazon, and I can tell you why, how we did that in a second. But the main point that I'm trying to bring out here is that Amazon, and hopefully eBay will have to get under this umbrella at the same point too, are now liable, and they've got to monitor what's going on, and they can't be doing these things like commingling products any longer, because they're going to be held liable for lawsuits. I am so excited by this ruling.
For me, it was quite obvious. So it is interesting that some things that are obvious, still you have to go to the courts, still you have to argue, etc. But if Amazon is collecting the fees for the transaction, it is a part of the transaction. Like, they cannot say we are not involved. By the way, we took money. Like, come on, it is like so freaking obvious. So for me, this decision of the court is obvious, but now it is written, now it is decided, now that we all can act and defend. I remember precisely when we were a couple of years ago, when we were recording podcast, and we were talking about these illegal copies of the games, and we were discussing that Catan and Ticket to Ride might have a problem, and we were small companies or smaller companies. But now you have a Terraforming Mars, and for sure, like I don't know if you have any proofs, but I'm pretty sure the Terraforming Mars is so popular game. This is a major hit that there are some illegal copies produced in China and put on the market. So you need to defend the market, and for you it is very important. I'm not sure if anybody is trying to copy Detective.
Yes.
But Terraforming Mars is one of the absolutely major sellers in the industry. So for sure it is very tempting to get this illegal printing, and then now finally you can defend.
So, and I'll be very public about what we have done specifically. So, we started seeing counterfeit copies of Terraforming Mars, and it's very obvious. There's threads on BGG to tell if your copy is counterfeit. First of all, anybody who buys a counterfeit copy knowingly, and there are people who are going out just because they want to get the game for like $30. They go out and they knowingly do it. I'm telling you, you're a cheater. You're a cheater. You've cheated me. Okay, maybe you don't care. I'm a business. You've cheated the designer. They don't make any money on it. You've cheated Fricks Games, right? They are collecting licensing fees. You've cheated the retailer. You've cheated the distributor. You've cheated everybody. So you're a cheater if you knowingly go and buy a counterfeit copy. I'm making that statement to everybody listening to my voice. eBay has got counterfeits still on there. Don't buy any games on eBay. Certainly don't buy Terraforming Mars and major sellers there, because you have a higher probability of getting a counterfeit, especially if it's shipping from China. Now, why would that ever happen? Why would somebody put up something that's going to ship to China to the US or China to Europe? Makes no sense. Why? Because they're making it for almost for free, and then they're packaging it up and they're putting it in this nothing box and they're sending it to you for pennies on the dollar. So don't do that. Now, on Amazon, we found it and we squashed it in a number of ways. But the biggest way that we've squashed it on Amazon is now Amazon has created this thing called the Transparency Program. This is very important. Transparency Program is that every one of the units of Terraforming Mars that we produce now and have been producing for the last 6 months or so, maybe about 8 months, since the beginning of the year, has a sticker on the back. It says Amazon Transparency, and it's a QR code. Every unit that comes into Amazon is scanned. If that unit, if that scan isn't a unique scan that Amazon has provided to us, they provide it to us, and then we got to go print those things and put them on. So there's a cost associated with this. We have to take this cost on. For every unit that we make, we do this. They scan it, they put it there, this is legitimate. If they scan something that either they had scanned before or it doesn't have a sticker on it, guess what? They reject it. They will not now put it with the stock of Terraforming Mars games. So we now know that all the games on Amazon are absolutely legitimate games. And they just extended this program to the UK or all of Europe. I forgot. But Amazon now in Europe in general is extending this program. So guess what? The same exact thing will happen on the Amazon platform in Europe. So very exciting in all of these pieces that we can fight it on our level, but Amazon better take more and more and more care, because now they are liable for the third-party products and what the third-party sellers are doing, including counterfeits and defective products. This makes me so happy.
Yeah, and this is a difficult topic that I'm definitely not going to cover because my English is not good enough to be subtle, I would say. But just a short message. If you're buying a game that is cheaper and this is quite suspicious, and you're thinking like, man, but I will save $10 because I don't have enough money, so I prefer to save some $10 or $15. Let's face it, like when I visit America and I go to the Starbucks, one coffee costs $10. So like basically you are saving one coffee, but in the big picture, if there's more of you saving this one stupid coffee on a game and buying cheaper game, you are damaging, as Steven said, you are damaging publisher. And if you don't like publisher, but you're the damaging designer, you are damaging everybody involved in the game. So just I would say drink one less coffee that very day. But don't damage the industry, don't damage designers, don't damage the publishers. That's why I don't want to talk about it too much because I'm personally involved. Like, you are a publisher, I am designer. Like, I spend these months designing these games, and I, playtest, and you guys know me. I playtest in weekends, in nights. Like, I'm obsessed trying to create a best game possible. And then when I hear or see a person that he wants to save $10, and he will buy the game that is illegal, or he want to buy a game with a bigger discount. Like, man, I spent 1 year of my life trying to make this game the best possible for you, and you are discussing $10, one coffee in Starbucks. So put guys in this perspective. Sometimes you are saving maybe $10, but the publisher and everybody else is losing thousands of dollars when you multiply one person by hundreds of persons.
Thank you. That's exactly right. I think enough said, because my blood pressure will just go up again. So I better. You can hear. Little everybody listening to us, you can hear the passion in both of our voices about this. It's a very serious. You know what? Tariffs are nothing compared to this issue. Tariffs are nothing compared to keeping counterfeits out of this industry. So just think about that for a moment. Let's move on. Since we've been talking about Essen. A very interesting thing.
And spoiler alert is the last news, because we're already talking for 40 minutes.
Okay. Okay, last one. So we've been talking about Essen, and that we're all crazy of getting ready for it. So the Spiel, that's the real name of Essen, right? The Spiel opens the refurbished east entrance for the 2019 show. And this is great because the east entrance is the one that's closest to the subway, closest to the Atlantic Congress Hotel, which is where all of the industry stays. It always was open until they started doing all that refurbishment. So now they're finally reopening it. It's going to make it a lot easier for a lot of people, including me, and maybe Ignacy, to get in. So in 2019, in Essen, Germany, we will see the opening of the refurbished east entrance of the convention center, the Messe Essen. That's what it's called. This entrance will join the previously used west and south entrances. The east entrance will provide additional coat rooms and pay stations. It will be the main entrance for attendees needing to purchase tickets. The south entrance will have some cash registers. The west entrance will be only for pre-sale tickets. Attendees with pre-sale tickets can use any entrance. So this is kind of cool. I was those who've been going to Essen for a long time know that side, the east side of the Messe Essen, was truly the main entrance until they did the refurbishing, and they swung all of the halls over to the other side, and they renumbered everything, and it took me years to really figure out where I was going. But now the numbers are staying renumbered, so they're not changing that portion, but it's a really... You remember, Ignacy, last year? Maybe you didn't. Maybe you did or didn't see the east entrance. It looks... They were building it, and it looked really pretty. So I'm excited that they've now opened it, and we're going to get this beautiful view as we come from the Atlantic Congress, and then we come into the newly refurbished halls.
And this is one more thing connected to that. So for these past few years, when there was only the west entrance, we both are in the hall 3, that is called like a premium hall, the most important, because you have the biggest publishers there, and there's the biggest traffic over there. Now splitting this traffic into 2 entrances, this is Essen giving a bigger traffic and bigger chance to find customers to these smaller publishers who are in these other halls, like 6 or 5, because I remember me being a small fish back then, many years ago, and it took more than 1 hour, like I'm serious, 1 hour before we saw any customers appearing in our hall. So the show started at 10 a.m. and before 11 a.m. we finally get some customers, because these customers had to go through the one hall and second hall and the third hall, before they even reached our hall. Now customers will go from the very beginning, from the morning, through different entries. So every publisher will be busy from the very beginning. Every publisher has chance to find audience for their game, not only this premium. So of course for us it is awesome to be in a premium hall with this west entrance, but now I think it is a fair play to give these different entrance, and everybody now can have audience from the very beginning of the day. So for me, very good news for the independent smaller publishers.
Absolutely. We've always wanted to know if we were going to, once they did open the whole thing, if they were going to change where everyone's located. I don't know if they're going to do that. I have a feeling they won't. They'll keep it the way it is right now. In other words, we're going to stay in Hall 3 even next year. But who knows? We'll see what Mayor's Verlag does. That's the people who run Essen, the Spiel. So we'll see what they do for next year in their hall assignments.
In my life in Essen, I was already in 4 different halls. So I have my history. Like I was, for this past many years, I was in a couple of different halls moving, and this hall number 3 that we are now, the premium one is like hopefully my final location. I really love it.
I've been in 3 different halls. The one where like the American publishers were back in the day. I was right across from Z-Man when Zev owned Z-Man Games.
Oh, I remember. Yeah.
And then from there, I moved basically directly to the biggest hall because I had some connections, I guess. Somebody, spoke up, and we got a small booth, smallish, but not a decent sized booth in the biggest hall then. And then once we like rearranged everything, I stayed in the big hall 3. So that's where we are right now. All right, so I think we're done. I think we need to go to the final scoring.
Final scoring. Let's find out what's happening at Portal Games and Stronghold Games.
Thank you again for listening to us. We appreciate it so much, your time. Please post questions for us in our guild on Board Game Geek podcast, Board Games Insider. You'll find us. Questions go there, even though we didn't take them in this episode. We will be taking them again soon. Facebook page, we have one for the podcast. It's called Board Games Insider. Plus, of course, our Facebook page for Stronghold Games /Stronghold Games or /Portal Publishing. The company websites is strongholdgames.com, portalgames.pl, and portalgamesus.com. And make sure you sign up for our newsletters, and you'll get just like a small number of newsletters. We won't spam you, and you'll find out, again, what's happening and when things open, the pre-orders and the new games and stuff like that. Social media links, talk to Ignacy and Stephane directly. Twitter, @Stronghold Games, @ChevyCheck. Instagram is the same, @Stronghold Games and ChevyCheck. YouTube, we have channels there. Upcoming cons. I hope to see some cruises on BGG at Sea next week. The Dice Tower Retreat, where I promise to give Tom Vassell the hardest time I can at his own show. I love doing that. And then, of course, we'll see you guys at Essen. Maybe BGG kind of packs you unplugged. That rounds it out for the year. Ignacy, anything secret today to tell the fans?
I have secret.
Do you? You're good at this. I gotta get better.
And this secret is awesome because it is a Ignacy bragging secret. So
Okay.
I got invited by Essen to run a seminar about the history of Portal Games, and I will do it in this fancy room that you remember we were having seminar last year when there was a panel about the changes in the industry. So I have no clue about if this is for the press, if this is ticketed, if this is for the fans. I'm learning, but now I can brag already. There will be a seminar from Ignacy in the very fancy room on Saturday during the Essen. So details will come. I hope I will have some tickets for you, for our fans, for our listeners. But yeah, that was a bragging secret from Ignacy.
So you're giving like a state of the industry kind of thing?
No, I'm giving a speech about the history of Portal Games.
Oh, so you're giving the Portal Games speech. Great.
Yep. Celebrating 20 years of Portal Games, and Essen invited me to. They appreciate and respect the anniversary, and they invited me to make a speech.
That's great.
So that's awesome. Yep, it was very kind of them, and very humbling. And they approached me personally. They appreciate that I was in Essen for many years, that I have a birthday for my company, and they invited me to do a seminar.
That's very nice. Hey, do you want a guest appearance by Stephen Bonacore?
We can discuss it.
We can discuss that. So yeah, last year they invited me to do like a state of the industry, but not me alone. It was like 6 people. Eric Lang was there.
Yeah, I was there. Yeah,
and you were there. Of course, you were there. We had that was a great one in that special room.
Yeah,
that was the coolest room when you're with the glass. That was so good. So I'm probably going to be the same kind of thing. I hope that's the room you get, because it's a beautiful, beautiful room.
Yes, they told me this. Yes, they told me this is the same room.
Overlooking Hall 3. It's amazing. Those pictures that we had from there. So congratulations. That's wonderful.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much. We'll see you in a week. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to Board Games Insider with Ignacy Cevichek and Stephen Bonacore. Board Games Insider has been made possible by you, our listeners and hobby board game enthusiasts. Ignacy and Stephen thank you greatly for your support of their companies and the hobby board game industry. Follow both Portal Games and Stronghold Games on Twitter, like both companies on Facebook, and sign up for their newsletters on portalgames.pl and strongholdgames.com. Please join us next time on Board Games Insider.
You're listening to the Dice Tower Network, the home of smart people, insightful board gaming commentary, and Stephen Bonacore. Find out more at dicetowernetwork.com. Network.com.